Wait, so now is the time to buy comics? What have I been doing the last 3 years? Hey there, today I have an unboxing video, and in this video I'm going to unbox my latest order from Heritage Auctions. I had recently won Avengers Annual number 10 in a 9.6, and I got that along with another raw Silver Age key. And what I had found, let's say maybe towards the end of May, is that I was finding quite a few books on Heritage that were selling for a lot less than they were about 6 months ago, certainly a year ago, where the trend for a lot of these books has been on a decline. And, you know, every YouTube channel out there is an expert on economics and the market, and telling you about the market is down, or it's down but it's going to be okay and you should just hold everything, or it's okay to sell, it's okay to buy. And there's all kinds of advice out there, and I just feel like for me, the best advice that I can give myself is to just remain relative. So when prices are high, you have to understand that yes, you're purchasing at a premium, but keep your purchase price, at a relatively affordable amount. You don't want to necessarily overpay or overreach when the market is peaking. And when it's down, it's certainly down, but it's still going to cost you something. And in this unboxing, I'm going to show you three key books. Again, borderline, not necessarily grails, but definitely personal grails, or instead of grails, that's an overused term, just goals that I have, just achieving personal goals, selecting very specific books, books that are not only desirable, but recognizable. And that's what I feel like you can do that in any market. And I really don't like to necessarily buy low or buy high. You're just kind of finding a nice landing spot, kind of in the middle if you can. And I feel like maybe that's where we are right now. Have we bottomed out completely? Time will tell. But I'm not an expert. I can't necessarily predict where the market's going. All I know is that prices in general are down. And it's a great thing if you're looking to acquire books. And really what the market has done is it hasn't made me sell more or buy more. It has made me be more selective with what I buy. And I think that's the biggest change for me I've noticed in the last 2 to 3 months is I'm way more selective and specific with the books that I'm targeting. And if somebody wants to sell me a comic book at a discount and I want that book, I honestly don't really care where the market is. I've got plenty of discounts being patient and strategic when the market was screaming and you literally could buy anything and flip it and sell it, and you had all of this crazy value that you were adding to your collection in this really super hot, on fire market. And I think for me, what's changing is not necessarily the values, but the types of books that people are collecting. A year ago or 2 years ago, I would say maybe like mid 2020, it felt to me like you could almost convince anyone that any comic book had some significant value. And now we're really kind of falling back to books that matter. And what I find interesting is that there are still individuals out there that have a following on social media or other platforms, places that they sell books or whatever, and they're still pushing the same books. They're still pushing their own investments on people, trying to convince them that the market's down, but their books are still selling very, very well. Just, again, you don't have to ignore the noise. You want to take all of that noise, channel it, put it in a funnel, mix it up, and create your own algorithm for which, you want to sort of empower yourself to be smart. Not, and I'm not going to say in this market. You want to be smart all the time. And I think that's what bothers me, is that people are giving advice on what to do based on market conditions. You always want to be smart with your money. You always want to be strategic with the books that you buy. And for me, I'm using all of this as an opportunity to maybe shift away from buying a stack of 20 or 30 comic books and instead buying one book. Except in this particular case, I bought 3. So let me unbox this. I'm super excited to share these key books with you. There's a little bit of a twist on one, and I may have hinted at it earlier. So maybe you can help me decide, what I should do in terms of holding the book, moving on from the book already. Not that I have regrets, but I'll just stop talking here. We'll get to the unboxing and take a look at the books. Okay, here is that box from Heritage Comics. Super excited to get this open, so let's get to it. All right, wish there was a little cleaner way to get through there. I had to be careful as I was cutting through the bubble wrap. I want to make sure I didn't slice through the slab or scratch the case or anything like that. All right, so let's... it was interesting. For a second, I thought they all had all 3 books had the same back cover, but I was like, that's impossible. They're from different years. Let's take a look at the book that... I don't know if there's an actual twist here, but I do have a story with this, so let me get to the story first. So these are 3 slabs that I won from Heritage. Here's the first one, and it's Avengers Annual number 10 in a 9.4 off-white to white pages. Now, fantastic book. Absolutely love it. First appearance of Rogue and Madeline Pryor. So great stuff. A book that I was targeting, a book that I was really honing in on and studying grades and trying to figure out, what did I really want to pay to acquire this book? What was my budget like, and so forth. And I unboxed Avengers. There it is, Avengers Annual 10. The Signature Series 9.6. I unboxed that first because I received it first, but I won it second. So this order I won first before the other. And it was one of those where I'm like, what am I doing bidding on another copy when I have one coming? So this one I did win first. So the question I have for you is not so much which one would you rather have, but should I keep both? So I look at this really as kind of an investment piece. Until we see the X-Men really show up in the MCU, which I believe Rogue has so many ties to different characters. She has clearly ties to the Avengers. She has ties to Captain Marvel. She has a history with Carol Danvers. If she's casted correctly, she's just going to be kind of a knockout character. I really think it's going to be a slam dunk. So that's why I feel like I should really hold on to both and wait if I'm really looking to sell one. I really feel like there's still a lot of upside with this book specifically. And like I was saying, this book sold well in a market that was thriving, whereas right now a market that is maybe stalling. The book is still selling. It's still moving, and I think that's kind of what I'm talking about, is that your more desirable books or your more recognizable books like this, and hopefully the next 2 that I'm about to show you, these are always going to sell. They're always going to sell. Are they always going to sell at a peak value? Of course not. It only sells at that highest value one time. That peak value is only going to be reached once. And you don't always know when that is. But this book is always going to be desirable by comic book collectors. Your average store exclusive or random variant, unless a comic book market hype analyst influencer is really pushing the book in your face, and then you get other influencers collaborating on that push, whether it's a Facebook group or whatever, that book is not going to sell. It's not going to be desirable in the long run, or even in the short term. Whereas books like this always will be, and that's how I look at it. And I'm always looking to get it at a discount, and that's what I did with these 3 books. Is I was able to get them for a lot less than what they were selling for back in 2020 and 2021. All right, enough of that. Let's and there's a theme. There's an X-Men theme, certainly with these books. So let me move on to the next one, and it is Uncanny X-Men number 129. And this is the first appearance of Kitty Pryde. I got this in a CGC 9.2 off-white to white pages. This book I've been after since I was a comic book collector, going over to my friend's house and looking at his brother's X-Men collection and just literally probably drooling to the point of ruining his books, but looking at giant size X-Men number 1, X-Men 94, like a full run, including this issue. And as much as I love Rogue, as much as I love Jean Grey Phoenix, I think Kitty Pryde is a wonderful character. I know it's Chris Claremont's one of his favorite, if not his favorite character. And there's just too much history with her. And this is her first appearance. The other bonus that you get with this is it is also Emma Frost's first appearance, the White Queen. So you get 2 major X characters' first appearance in one book. So I am absolutely thrilled to get this. And like I said, what I did is, these books clearly are not 9.8 white pages. What I did was I sort of set a budget, and I looked at certain grades and used my spreadsheet to kind of help me target a specific grade. And when I saw these grades come up during the auction, I was like, that specific grade is at a price point that, where I'm willing to spend the money. And so that's kind of what I do, where as the market shifts, then, maybe a year ago I could only afford a 7.0. And that was really what I'd be willing to spend, and the book and the grade that I was willing to pick up at that time. And now, because of the market shifting the way it has, I was able to afford a 9.2. I would love to upgrade these books, but I'm so happy to get both of these above a 9. And to me, these are personal grails. These are goals that I've had to collect first appearances of these key X-Men characters that didn't first appear in Hulk 181 or Giant Size X-Men number 1. And I love it. I'm just thrilled. And then I'm going to show you this last book, and it is X-Men 266. This is the first full appearance of Gambit. I understand the X-Men Annual first appearance of Gambit controversy. I get all that. I know he's in it. I know he's in panels. I know he speaks. But this is the book that everybody thinks about. This one I got in a 9.6 white pages. So it's the first full appearance as listed on the label. He's obviously on the cover. It's a great Andy Kubert cover. And like I said, it's just the one that is more desirable. It's the Hulk 181 and 180 effect. No matter how much you talk about Hulk 180, you certainly could increase the value and desirability of 180, but you're not going to detract from 181. And that's how I feel about this. As much as the X-Men Annual book is important, if you're collecting the first appearances of Gambit, it's not going to diminish 266. It's just not. It's already just a book that not only is collectible, but so many collectors have this and have invested in this, and you're just not going to be able to take that away from them. And again, a 9.6 started to fall into my budget range. I don't have this book raw. I don't have any of these books raw. So to get them all already slabbed by CGC with a grade, and to get this one 9.6 white pages, love it. This one is the newest of the three, so I would expect, this is from 1990, to get the white pages designation. But boy, I can't quite believe that I'm starting to be able to pick up these sorts of books, because, you know, we all just lived through that sort of the quarantine, the COVID era, which I don't know what they're going to call it specifically, but we just went through it. We saw the comic book market boom, the resurgence. You can call this the variant era. I'm not sure what era we're about to go in. The post bubble era. I don't know what it is, but as a collector, and shifting how I strategically look at how I want to add value to my collection, I feel very fortunate and very lucky to be able to acquire these books, acquire them at a discount, and really take a look at heritage auctions. I'm not trying to say that, you know, that's the place you should do your shopping. But if you prepare, and if you're ready, and you set aside the time, and you focus, and you also control yourself, and you're able to tap out at certain times during the auction, even if it's a book that's, I've been there with like Iron Man #1. Like, I gotta have it on the wall. Iron Man's my favorite character. I have passed many times on that book because it just gets ridiculous. So as long as you're very, very strict, and you're diligent, and you do your homework, you can find, I don't want to say bargains, but you can find books at maybe 50 or 60% what they're selling at. Not all books are discounted, though. You have to wait, you have to strike, you have to be patient. And when there's maybe some auction or bidder fatigue between books, or what I like to do also on Heritage is when there's two books back to back, because everything's alphabetized, right? So it's not necessarily by publisher. It's just title A to Z. So what that means is, like, they're not in this particular Heritage auction, but you could have X-Men 266 in a 9.8 white pages followed by a 9.6 white pages. And you may get some bidder fatigue off of the 9.8, where the 9.6 people are less interested because they just got into a bidding war and they lost, and they don't want to settle for a 9.6. They wanted that 9.8. And maybe they just exhausted all of their energy or resources off of that one auction lot, and they're just ready to move on from it, and they're not interested in the 9.6, and you can swoop in and go ahead and, again, not snipe it, but pick it up at a pretty good deal. So those are the three books that I got from Heritage Auctions. If you have a comment or advice on what you would do in my situation, where you wanted to acquire Avengers Annual 10, you wanted to get it slabbed and graded professionally, and now you have a 9.6 signature series and a 9.4. Should I keep both? Should I sell one? I love the yellow label, honestly. But with Rogue not being on everyone's radar quite yet, I feel like I want to wait a little bit and see until the X-Men train really gets off and rolling and set down the tracks with the MCU. I feel like I want to wait a little bit, but I know I can get a lot more with the 9.6 signature series. And if it's all about acquiring the book, then maybe the 9.4 is sufficient, where if I could sell the 9.6, it might actually pay for X-Men 129 and X-Men 266. So it's almost like I'm getting them for free, and also getting my money back on what I paid for 9.6 for the 9.6 originally. So let me know in the comments, what would you do? What do you think? But I appreciate you watching. Happy collecting, and see you next time.